Hi everyone. We'll just give everyone a few seconds to gather round for Sunday School Live. It's great to have you along today. Let's just get some comfy. Okay, good. So we are live. Today's lesson is titled God's Timing is Perfect, and that's the story we're going to be looking at today. Is the story of Abraham, Sarah and Isaac. We're going to cover, it covers two stories. They're two shorter stories and all about how God's timing and how God's plans are always perfect. So we're giving everyone a few seconds to gather around. Materials you're going to need for today's lesson is there's some ideas over on our website, aghadoweypci.co.uk, and they have lots of ideas there of activities that you can be doing. We won't be doing them all together. There's one for younger kids, with like a little sheep cut out, and they can sit on some cotton wool and colour in the sheep. Or there's a little toilet roll activity, yet another toilet roll craft, about for a ram if you've got pipe cleaners, but I wasn't sure if everyone would have those kind of things. And then we're also going to be doing another activity which I haven't uploaded on the website, and we'll do it together here. For that activity, you're going to need a piece of paper or card. Card does work better, but not everybody might have card. And then some sellotape or glue. Sellotape probably might work better. Some scissors and some colouring in pencils to colour in and design. So that's for a little bit later on. Also, you might want to have another device handy if you want to do the quiz on a separate device, so then you can keep watching the live stream on your laptop and still be able to like have it on the screen. Also, if you've got a smart TV, it's a really great way to watch it, is just broadcast it on your TV through like an Amazon Fire Stick. And you can sort of, it's much easier than everyone's having to crowd around a little screen. And that's also a really good tip for church later on, is get it broadcasted on your TV, makes it so much easier. And that's it. That's all you're going to need for today. Parents, I don't know if you want to do this activity or not. I'm saying it is only 10:30. But this is a wee thing that I do a couple of times with my class, and they absolutely hate it, but they love it as well. Is get a sweet or a treat. I've just got a wee mint here, and it could be just one midget gem, whatever you can find, and place it just beside where you're working or beside where you're doing Sunday School Live, so the kids can see it, but they're not allowed to touch it. Okay, so we've got our sweet. We're going to set it somewhere where we can see it, but we're not allowed to touch it, or we're not allowed to eat it. And then until I say so, or until your parents say so later on, okay? Because I don't want anyone spoiling their lunch, or they might just have breakfast, or it might be too early for some people to have some sweets. But yes, we just wait to begin. So my name is Alice. If you're not familiar with Aghadowey Presbyterian, we're a wee country church, and I help run Sunday school here with the kids. We normally have about, say, 15 or to 20 kids on a Sunday. So it's great to have Sunday School Live, and we've had so many other people joining in. It's been great. And I feel like the novelty of having church online or Sunday school online is definitely wearing off for a lot of people. But it's just so important to keep up that routine, not make it just so that, oh, it's Sunday morning, let's go to Sunday school, because that's what we've always been doing it. But it's just so good to just have that little piece of normality in our lives, and just adapting it to what we can do right now. So I'm just going to adjust the camera here and gather together, have some fellowship virtually, and learn something new about God's word. So, will we get started? Our story comes from the Jesus Storybook Bible. If you don't have a copy of this, we're looking through Genesis chapter, the later chapters of Genesis, as it skips through lots of different parts, and mostly Genesis chapter 22. And from the Jesus Storybook Bible, we're starting on page 56. And we're looking at the story of Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac. So if you want to grab, if you've got a copy of this book, you can grab it and then you can look at the pictures as well with me. Okay, so we've started our series a couple of weeks ago on the different characteristics of God. We looked at Noah and the big boat and how God keeps his promises. We looked at the Tower of Babel last week and how God is holy and the only way we can get to God is through Jesus and not by building a big tower. And this week, we're going to be looking at Abraham. God made lots of promises to Abraham, and as we learned a couple of weeks ago, God always keeps his promises. The theme of this week is God's timing and plans are always perfect. Abraham and Sarah had to be very, very patient, and they didn't think God's plans were going to work out, but they always do because God keeps his promises and his timing is perfect. I wonder if you had to be patient recently. Parents, your patience may be wearing thin after a few weeks of homeschooling, and you may be struggling and working your way through it. And you may feel like your patience with maths and English, which you may have done for a while, is slowly wearing thin. And you're wondering, how much longer is this going to go on for? Kids, maybe you've had to wait to use something, to share something. Or maybe it's a bit like going on holiday. We all thought we were maybe going to go on holiday this July, and we're going to have to be a bit more patient, and maybe you have to wait to next year or a little bit later on in this year. I'm certainly going to be missing out on my trips this summer, but God's timing and God's plans are always perfect. So let's get into our story. So God's special promise to Abraham. Years passed after the Tower of Babel, and things didn't get any better. People were still just as cruel and mean to one another. They still got sick and died. God's world was still full of tears. It was never meant to be like this. But God was getting ready to do something about it. He was going to make all the wrong things right, and he was going to do it through a family. Abraham, God said, how many stars are there? God was about to tell his friend a wonderful secret. Let me see, Abraham said, rolling up his sleeves. Have you ever tried counting the stars? Then you know how hard it is. 993, 994, 997. Uh-oh, I've lost count. No, wait. I'll start again. 1, 2. Of course he kept losing count. He said, far too many. Guess what? God laughed. I will give you so many children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, you won't be able to count them either. Abraham couldn't help giggling at such a wonderful idea. Don't be silly. I didn't have any children, let alone grandchildren. He wiped away a tear. Anyway, it was far too late for him to start having children. He was 99 years old. What could God mean? Abraham, God said, believe me. And then God told Abraham his secret rescue plan. Abraham, I will make your family very big, God promised, until one day your family will become to number more than even all the stars in the sky. Abraham looked up at the dark night sky, thick with stars. You will be my special family, my people, and through you, everyone on earth will be blessed. It was an incredible promise. God was going to rescue the whole world through Abraham's family. One of his great-great-great-great-grandchildren would be the child of the promised one, the rescuer, the one God had sent. But it's too wonderful, Abraham said. How can it be true? Is anything too good to be true? God asked. Is anything too wonderful for me? So Abraham trusted God, what God had said, more than what his eyes could see, and he believed. Now, when Abraham's wife, Sarah, heard God's promise, she just laughed to herself. But it wasn't a happy laugh. She had tears in it. She always wanted a child. Could her dream come true? Could she really have a child when she was 90 years old? No, of course not. Don't be silly. It was far too late. Sarah didn't believe God could do what he promised. She had forgotten what God had says, and when God says something, it is good as done. Of course, it was as easy for God to give her baby son as it was for him to make all the stars in the sky. Sure enough, 9 months later, just as God had promised, Sarah gave birth to a baby boy. They named him Isaac, which means son of laughter. And Sarah laughed, but this time it was a glorious, happy laugh. Her dream had come true. God would do as he promised. He would always look after Abraham's family, his special people. And one day, God would send another baby, a baby promised to a girl who didn't even have a husband. But this baby would bring laughter to the whole world. This baby would be everyone's dream come true. So that is the story of how Abraham and Sarah, at 90 years old, had a baby boy called Isaac. God's timing was perfect. They had to be patient. They didn't think this would ever happen, and their patience was great. They waited so long, and God did do what he had said. God's timing was perfect, and God's plan was perfect. He knew this was going to happen the whole time. So the next part of our story is a little bit later on in our timeline. Isaac has grown up a little bit, and he is a boy. God knew that this secret rescue plan could only work if Abraham trusted him completely. God had to make sure Abraham would do whatever he asked. So a few years later, God asked Abraham to give him a present. Abraham liked giving presents to God. He gave God his animals. They were called sacrifices, and they were a way to say, I love you, God. But this time, God didn't want a lamb or a goat. God wanted Abraham to give him something more, much more. He wanted Abraham to give him his son, his only son, the son he loved, Isaac. Put his boy on the altar and kill him as a sacrifice? How could God want him to do such a terrible thing? Abraham didn't understand, but he knew that God was his father and who loved him. And so Abraham trusted him, even as scary and as sad as it could be. Early the next morning, Abraham and Isaac set off. They climbed the steep stony trail up the mountain. Isaac carried the wood on his back. His father carried the knife and the coals. Father, Isaac said, we have everything except we forgot the lamb for the sacrifice. God will give us a lamb, Abraham said. They built an altar and laid the wood on top. Abraham asked his son to climb on top of the wood. Isaac didn't understand, but he knew his father loved him, and so he trusted him. He climbed up onto the altar and Abraham tied his boy to the wood. Isaac didn't struggle or try to run away. He just lay there quietly and didn't make a sound. Everything was ready. Abraham took the knife. Tears were filling up in his eyes. Pain was filling up in his heart. His hand was shaking. He lifted the knife high into the air. Stop, God said. Don't hurt the boy. I want him to live and not die. I know now that you love me because you would have given me your only son. And that was incredible. God felt his heart leap. Abraham felt his heart leap with joy. His unbound Isaac folded him in his arms. Great sobs shook the old man's whole body. Scalding tears filled his eyes, and for a long time they stayed there like that, in each other's arms, the boy and his dad. Suddenly, Abraham saw a ram, a sheep, caught in some brambles, the sacrifice that God had planned. God had given them what they needed just in time. The ram would die, so Isaac didn't have to, and so Abraham sacrificed the ram instead of his son. And as they sat there on the mountaintop, watching the embers of the fire die in the cool night, the stars above them sparkling in the velvet sky, God helped Abraham and Isaac understand something. God wanted his people to live and not to die. God wanted to rescue his people, not to punish them. but they must trust him. One day, someone will be born into your family, God promised them, and he will bring happiness to the whole world. God was getting ready to give the whole world a wonderful present. It would be God's way to tell his people, I love you. Many years later, another son would climb another hill carrying wood on his back. Like Isaac, he would trust his father and do what his father asked. He wouldn't struggle or run away. Who was he? God's son, his only son, the son he loved, the Lamb of God. And that's the end of our story today. The story of how Abraham trusted God's plans so much and so closely that he was prepared to give his only son Isaac as a sacrifice to God. How incredible was Abraham's trust in God? He loved his son so much, and yet he loved God so much too that he was willing to give God his son Isaac. But God's plan was perfect. God's timing was also perfect. He had timed it so perfectly that he was able to see how Abraham trusted him so much to the point that he was willing to give his son. It was all part of his perfect plan. And then the sheep appeared in the brambles. Again, God's perfect plan and God's perfect timing, just in time. And Abraham gave the sacrifice of the lamb to show how much he loved God too. And we also get to see a little glimmer or a little glimpse of God's bigger plan. This big rescue plan that the Jesus storybook tells us in every single story about how God is going to rescue the whole world from all the sin and all the sad things that happen. And we get to see that God would sacrifice his son on a cross so that his plan would come. So we're going to have a little craft now. And so you need your card and you need your sellotape or your glue or your scissors as well. And you need something circular to draw around. So this could be like a glass, a cup, or something circular to draw around. Or if you're really good at drawing, unlike me, you could just draw a circle. And what we're going to make is a little paper or card watch. Now, card does work better because it's a little bit stronger, but I don't have any cards, so I'm just going to use some paper that I got out of the printer. So you draw your circle like so. So I've got a circle like this. Oh, can we see it? There we go. So we've got a circle. And you're going to cut out that circle. If you're a little bit younger, you want some help with the scissors. So cut out the circle. Okay, and on that circle you want to draw the face of a clock. So some younger ones who might not have done time yet in school, you might need some help, but you could just have a look at the clock in your house and draw the numbers and the hands on the clock. And this is your chance to get really creative. You could get to design your own watch, and so you can make it as colourful or as simple and plain as you want. If you've got like some nice gel pens or some glitter, you could even get out those two and make it really colourful and bright. The next thing you want to do is you want to cut a strip of paper like I have done so. Okay, now this strip of paper has to go around your wrist, so you might want to measure it. Now I've done mine quite thick just so it's easier to see on screen. You don't have to do yours so thick. And you want to measure that. So this is where you might need a sibling or a parent to help you. And you wrap around the piece of paper like so until you get it around your wrist and it's not too tight and it's not too loose that you're going to lose your watch. Okay? And then you want to glue that or sellotape that a little bit later on, just not now, okay? So then you get your piece of paper or your strap of your watch like this, and you want to kind of like picture in two halves, okay? So you want to get on one side right? God's timing is perfect. Okay, so this is a reminder that God's timing and God's plans are always perfect. And you could even write your memory verse as well on this. Now, the memory verse is in the folder on our website, aghadoweypci.co.uk, and it's Ecclesiastes 3:1. God's timing is perfect. There is a season for everything. And there's just nice big cards there that I've designed that you can print out and you can cut out and you can stick in the fridge or you can stick in your bedroom, and they're like little collector cards, and you're going to build them up over however long we've got here doing Sunday School Live in my sitting room. We're going to publish these memory verse cards, and you get to collect them and keep them, and it helps you remember the memory verse. So this week's memory verse is Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, and I'll go over that in a little second. So you might want to write your memory verse on this, or you might want to simplify it down and just write God's timing is perfect, which is the slogan for today's lesson. But you want to leave a gap in the middle, and in the middle you're going to stick on the clock of your watch. Now, this is when you need to sort of like think a bit. So you need to do it like this. So you're going down, and then you need to have a 12 at the top and 6 at the bottom. Okay, and then you need to remember which way it's round it goes, so you're not having it like upside down or like if it goes a bit pear-shaped, that's Sunday School crafts most week whenever we're together in the hall. So you want to again wrap around. So we've got our clock face stuck onto our watch strap, and then you're going to wrap that around your wrist, and then you're going to need some help for this bit. Tighten it so it's not too tight but not too loose, and then get some sellotape and stick it together, so then you have your watch on your wrist like this. Now, it's not like an actual watch where you can like click on and click off, or with the little Velcro or the little straps. So you might need to cut it off at the end of the day, but you can sellotape it back together again tomorrow if you really want to wear your watch again tomorrow. If you're very, very keen to keep wearing your watch, your paper watch, if it lasts as long as tomorrow, because it's only paper. And this is just a wee funky reminder that God's timing is perfect. And whenever you look at your wrist today, you'll be reminded of the story of Abraham and Isaac and how his plans and his timing is perfect. Okay, so next part of Sunday School Live is our quiz, which everybody loves. So you'll need to get onto a separate device, or if you're watching on a laptop, you can just open another tab, and you need to go to joinmyquiz.com, and there I'm going to give you a code, and you're going to enter the code, and then that will bring you access to the quiz. So if you go to my Safari, okay, so continue. So the game code is 075122. I'm just going to put that in the comments. So 075122. So if you go to joinmyquiz.com, just type it into Google. It's the first option that comes up, and then there's a space to type in your game code, and it's 075122. And I'm just going to put that in the comments so people can write. So 075122, and there is a little bit of a delay on this. So I'm just going to wait for everybody to catch up. So 075122, and it's joinmyquiz.com. You don't need to sign up. You don't need to download any apps. You just go straight into it, and then you can join in the quiz. So 075122. And we've got 25 signed up so far, so that's good. Okay. And while we're waiting, you can finish off your craft if you're still working on it, or I know I went through that really fast, so if you don't get it finished, don't panic. You can finish it a little bit later on. And it's always great to see who's all watching. So you can always type in the comments below where you're watching from, who you're watching with. It's always great to see how far this goes. We know that it's more than just Aghadowey people watching this. It's great to see everybody joining in. Okay, so we're ready. We've got 32 joined up. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. Oh, we've got a couple more. Okay, I'll wait. Maybe there's a little bit of delay. Like this is live, but there's always like maybe a 3-4 second delay, or even a couple of minutes, depending on how good your internet is. So give everybody a couple of seconds just to get joining in. There's still a couple more coming. So 075 122. Okay, so I think that's everybody now. Okay, so start. Okay, so first question, how many children was God going to give Abraham? 1,000, 1,000,000, 5, or more than all the stars in the sky? Okay. Who was Abraham's wife? So just type in your answer. If you can't spell, if you're that young, don't panic. There's it allows for spelling mistakes. How old was Sarah in the story? She was. So you're flying through these questions. Sarah thought she was too old to have and didn't believe what God had said. True or false? What did Abraham and Sarah call their son? Okay. In this story, what is a sacrifice? So what is a sacrifice? Something God to show us how much he loves us, or something to give God to show how much he is loved? Oh, I think the wording that one might have been a wee bit mixed. Abraham was going to offer gold as a sacrifice. True or false? Okay. What appeared in the bushes as a sacrifice for God? A lamb, a donkey, another person, or a ram? Very good. So that's the quiz. We'll see how everyone's going. Okay. I knew one of those questions because it was sort of a play on words, and I think the words I don't know if it. Whenever I look back on it, I don't know if they were if it came across right. But anyway, there was other questions we can get right. So okay, everyone's nearly finished. Well done. Just give everyone a couple of seconds. Okay, so well done, everyone. Georgia, Bradley, and Luke, you are the top scorers today. Well done. So if I go back to, yes. So now earlier on at the very beginning of Sunday School Live, maybe if you were joining us a little later, you might have missed it. I said for parents to grab a sweet or a treat for children to look at. I wonder how many of you are still looking at your treat. I've still got my sweet here, and I'm going to keep it a little bit longer. In this story, Abraham and Sarah had to be very, very patient. They had wanted a child for a very, very long time, and they thought that their opportunity was over. They didn't think they could ever have any children. And God said to them, hold on a minute, you will have a child, and you will call him Isaac. And they did not believe what God had said. They thought God was being really, really silly. How on earth could Sarah have a child at age 90? They had been so patient and they'd given up all hope. But God's timing and God's plan is always perfect. And God did give them a son, and they called him Isaac. And then a little bit later in our story, Abraham was being really tested by God to prove and to show how much he trusted him. And he was going to offer Isaac, this son that they had waited years and years and years for. to give him as a sacrifice to God, to show God how much Abraham loved him and trusted him. But thankfully, God saw that Abraham really trusted him, and Abraham had proved himself to God. And so God had then given them a ram in the bushes to use as a sacrifice instead of Isaac. I wonder, have you ever had to be really patient in your life? Or maybe you've been thinking, when is this ever going to happen? Or when is this ever going to be over? I'm sure you're probably thinking that a little bit now. When is this going to be over? When can we get back to school? When can we go see our friends again? When can we get back to our activities? And you might be thinking, what is God doing with all of this? What is God? Where is God in all of this? And what plan could God ever have for this time whenever we're all stuck inside and everything is happening in our world that we didn't believe could happen only a few months ago? See, God is amongst all of that, and we can pray with him and be with him and be in his word, and he can help us through even the scariest of times. Imagine how scared and worried Abraham was going up to the top of that mountain to sacrifice his son. He was really scared and worried, but he still trusted God. He didn't want to give Isaac as a sacrifice, but he knew that it was all part of God's plan, and he had to trust him completely. And he didn't know what God was going to do in all amongst of it. And that's what we can be thinking now. Where is God in all of this? But God's plans and God's timing is perfect. And we might not get to see or understand what God's plans were in all of this. We might not even see that for months or years on end. But God is with us in through it all. God's plans are perfect. God's timing is perfect. We just have to trust him. And that can be really hard. But what we can do to help is pray with him. And that's really comforting to pray to him and also spend time in his word. And we get to know him so much better through it, even the most testing of times. Just like Abraham. So that is a little lesson for today, that God's timing and God's plans are perfect. Because although our story ended with Isaac and Abraham at the top of the hill, God's plan that Abraham was going to have as many children as there are stars in the sky did come true. Abraham might not have got to see it in his lifetime, but it did happen. And through Abraham's family and great children and great grandchildren and great grandchildren, there was a very special man that was born, and his name was Jesus. So through it all, God's plan was working and God's timing was perfect. Sarah did have to wait so many years to have a child, but God's timing was perfect, and it was all part of his very perfect plan. Although we might not understand it or we might not see it, God's timing and God's plans are perfect. So that's the end of Sunday School Live today. Kids, you can have your sweet if your parents allow you. And it's just a wee test on your patience and your time and the little understanding of timing and being patient and waiting for God to me waiting for me to say yes, you can have your sweet. It's just like God saying yes to Abraham and Sarah. God's timing is perfect, and we just have to be patient sometimes, just like whenever we're having the sweet. So that's it for Sunday School Live today. I hope you enjoyed the lesson of Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac. Head over now to our YouTube channel for our main service. It's our youth service today, so there's going to be lots of different people joining in from Crossgar and Aghadowey to virtually give the youth service that I think was planned before this all happened. And there's a link on this post which you can click directly to, and then there's also a chat forum in the YouTube channel video as well. So if you're watching on your laptop, you can just say hello or hi, and people can see that message, and it's sort of as if we were like virtually all together and like having coffee and chat before church. You can comment and say hello there, and people can see that, and it's like we're together but we're not together kind of thing. So yeah, head on over to our YouTube channel and you can join in on our service there, and click subscribe, so then you can it's much easier for you to find videos if they appear. So yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for joining in.